Have you ever felt like a pawn in someone else's game? Most people spend their lives being moved around the board, never realizing that the hand moving them is shaking. My name is Arthur. For 15 years, I was the chief compliance officer for a multinational logistics firm called Vanguard Global. My job was simple on paper: ensure we followed the law. But in a company that moves billions of dollars across borders, the law is often seen as a suggestion. The man at the top was CEO Elias Thorne. Elias was a charismatic shark. He was the kind of man who would steal your watch and then tell you the time. We weren't friends, but he trusted me because I was quiet, meticulous, and, he thought, controllable. Then came the Aurora Project. On the surface, it was a massive expansion into Southeast Asian markets. In reality, it was a funnel, a way to move hundreds of millions of dollars in dark capital into offshore accounts belonging to Elias and his board members. I found the discrepancy on a Tuesday night. A ghost account in Singapore. $42 million moved in a single transaction, labeled as infrastructure consulting. There was no consultant. There was no infrastructure. I took the findings to Elias. I thought I was doing my job. I thought he would be shocked. Instead, he leaned back in his leather chair, lit a cigar, and smiled. "Arthur," he said, "don't be a librarian. Be a partner. There's a $5 million bonus waiting for you if this audit comes back clean." I refused. I told him I wouldn't sign off on a felony. That was the moment my life changed. Act 1. The Scapegoat. Elias didn't fire me. That would be too simple. Instead, he started the gaslight phase. My emails began to disappear. Files I had saved on the secure server were being modified. Suddenly, the Aurora Project documents didn't have Elias's digital signature anymore. They had mine. Someone had stolen my credentials and backdated approvals for every illegal transaction over the last 6 months. I was being framed. They were setting me up to be the rogue executive. When the SEC or the FBI eventually knocked on the door, Elias would point his finger at me and say, "Arthur went rogue. He hid it from the board. Look, his signature is everywhere." I remember sitting in my car in the parking lot, realizing that if I didn't act, I would spend the next 20 years in a federal prison while Elias sipped champagne on a yacht in Monaco. But Elias forgot one thing. I am a compliance officer. My entire life is built on keeping receipts. And I had been keeping receipts on Elias Thorne since the day I was hired. Act 2. The Ghost Protocol. I knew I was being watched. My office had cameras, my phone was tapped, and my company laptop was a tracking device. So I started a shadow life. I bought a burner laptop with cash. I only accessed the internet through public Wi-Fi at a different library every night. I began a process I called the mirror. Every time they modified a file to frame me, I found the original metadata on the backup servers. Servers Elias didn't even know existed because they were part of an old legacy system from the 90s. I spent 3 months gathering the dossier. It wasn't just the Aurora Project. I found evidence of bribing foreign officials, environmental violations that had been buried, and, the real kicker, a secret plan to dump the company's stock right before the fraud was made public, leaving thousands of employees' pensions worth zero. My favorite find? An audio recording. I had a custom-built pen that recorded every meeting in Elias's office. On the tape, Elias is heard laughing with the CFO about how Arthur is too stupid to realize he's already wearing the handcuffs. I didn't go to the police yet. If I went to the police now, Elias's high-priced lawyers would find a way to tie the case in knots for years. No, I needed to destroy the foundation first. I reached out to a man named V. V was a journalist at a major financial paper, but he wasn't just any journalist. He was a man who hated corporate greed as much as I did. We met in a rainy park at 3 a.m. I didn't give him the dossier. I gave him a map. "Follow these accounts," I told him. "Wait for the quarterly earnings call. That's when the bomb drops." Meanwhile, at the office, I played the part of the broken man. I let Elias think he had won. I even apologized to him. I told him I was stressed and that I would sign whatever he wanted. He patted me on the back like I was a loyal dog. "Good boy, Arthur," he said. "You're making the right choice for your family." He was threatening me. He was telling me that my silence was the only thing keeping my family safe. He had no idea that I had already moved my wife and kids to her sister's house in Canada under the guise of a long vacation. The stage was set. The quarterly call was in 48 hours. Elias was planning to announce record profits. I was planning to announce the end of Vanguard Global. Act 3. The 0 hour. The day of the quarterly earnings call. This is the Super Bowl of the corporate world. Analysts from every major bank were on the line. The media was watching. Elias stood at the podium in the conference room, wearing a $3,000 suit and a smile that looked like it had been carved out of ice. I was sitting in the back of the room, my burner laptop open, hidden behind a stack of folders. My heart was pounding, not out of fear, but out of anticipation. Elias began his speech. He talked about unprecedented growth, synergy, and how the Aurora project had exceeded all expectations. "We are not just a company," Elias told the world. "We are a legacy." I looked at my screen. It was 10:15 a.m. Time to burn the legacy. I hit enter. Simultaneously, 3 things happened. First, the map of the Singapore ghost accounts was sent to every journalist on the call. Second, the audio recording of Elias calling me too stupid to realize I'm in handcuffs was uploaded to the company's internal Slack, reaching 10,000 employees at once. And third, I sent the encryption key to V, the journalist, giving him access to the full, unredacted dossier. The room went quiet. Not because of Elias, but because the analysts started looking at their phones. You could hear the notifications pinging like a swarm of angry bees. Elias noticed. His smile faltered. An analyst from J.P. Morgan interrupted him mid-sentence. "Mr. Thorne," he said, his voice cold, "we've just received a data dump regarding the Singapore accounts. Can you explain why $42 million of infrastructure consulting fees were transferred to a holding company you own?" Elias froze. He looked at me in the back of the room. I didn't hide. I stood up, closed my laptop, and adjusted my tie. I didn't say a word. I just walked toward the exit. "Arthur, get back here!" Elias screamed, forgetting he was on a live broadcast to the global financial market. That scream alone cost the company $500 million in market cap within 10 seconds. Act 4. The fallout. By the time I reached the parking lot, the FBI was already at the gates. They didn't come for me. They came for the servers. Vanguard Global's stock didn't just drop. It evaporated. It was the largest single-day collapse in the history of the sector. By noon, the board of directors had fired Elias for cause. By 2 p.m., he was being led out of the building in handcuffs. But the best part? The scapegoat strategy. Because I had documented every single time Elias or the CFO had modified my digital signature, the forensic investigators found the trail of breadcrumbs I'd left in the metadata. It proved intent. It proved they didn't just commit fraud. They attempted to frame a federal officer of the company to cover it up. That added an extra 15 years to Elias's potential sentence. I met V a month later. He asked me why I didn't just quit in the beginning, why I went to all this trouble. I told him, if I quit, they would have found another Arthur, someone younger. Someone who really was too scared to speak up. I didn't just want to save myself. I wanted to make sure Elias Thorne could never move another pawn again. Act 5. The New Reality. Vanguard Global is gone now. Liquidated. The employees' pensions? I spent the last of my whistleblower reward, a massive sum granted by the SEC, hiring a team of lawyers to ensure the liquidated assets went to the employees first, not the creditors. My family is back from Canada. We live in a quiet house by the lake. No one knows who I am. I'm just Arthur, the guy who likes to garden and read history books. Sometimes I get a letter from prison. Elias still tries to blame me. He writes about how I destroyed a masterpiece. I don't write back. I just use the envelopes to start my fireplace. The lesson here isn't that you should fight every battle. It's that if someone tries to make you the villain in their story, you might as well take the pen and write the ending yourself. And make sure it's an ending they'll never forget. Thanks for listening to this journey. If you ever find yourself being treated like furniture, remember, furniture can be heavy, and if it falls on you, it leaves a mark.